Welcome Active Melody members to the May 2025 Breakthrough Challenge. A challenge for me has been, how do I go beyond a simple A minor pentatonic to find my way around the full A minor natural scale to solo over a simple A minor blues. I'm in the early stages of this breakthrough, but what I found helpful is to focus on modes. You've had a fair warning. Being an annoying sort of fellow, I always like to go back to first principles. I think we all know that the C major scale and the A minor scale are called relative because they contain all the same natural notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. In fact, the key of C major and the key of A minor contain all the same chords, just arranged in a different sequence. In fact, the A minor scale really is the C major scale, just starting on the 6th note. But what you now have is a minor sounding scale with a different set of intervals, all based around an atonal center. Okay, so now, if we take the formula for the major scale, otherwise known as the Ionian mode, we get the well-known whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. If we shift that formula and start a new scale on each degree, we get 7 new scales called the major modes. All of these scales are relative to our parent scale as they contain exactly the same notes, but the sequence of intervals is shifted and it's unique to each scale around a new tonic home base. In the Ionian mode, we start with 2 whole tones, producing a major third interval. In the second mode, Dorian, we start with a whole and a half interval, giving a minor third interval. In the third mode, Phrygian, we start with a half and a whole tone, resulting in another minor third. So continuing this exercise, we end up making 3 major modes containing a major third, 3 minor modes with a minor third, and lastly a diminished mode with a flat third and a flat 5. If we take the first, third, and 5th degree from each mode in sequence, it gives us the characteristic pattern of diatonic chords of a key. The well-known major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. So finally, the key to my breakthrough is that the 3 minor chords of a minor blues are derived from the 3 minor modes. The 1 is derived from the Aeolian mode, 4 from the Dorian, 5 from the Phrygian, and all the diatonic notes of the parent scale, in our case the C major or A minor, are going to be found in their differing finger patterns. So, when I go to solo over my A minor blues, when I'm playing over the A minor chord with its atonal center, I'm going to use the A Aeolian pattern. When I play over the D minor 4 chord with its D tonal center, I'm going to use the D Dorian, and when I play over the E minor 5 chord with its E tonal context, I'm going to use the E Phrygian. And if we're aware of a few target notes like the minor thirds, we could actually melodically improvise over the progression. Now you may say, if all of this is just C major, why don't you just solo with C major? And my answer is that I personally can't make the conversion from C to A in improvising real time. And I've already got these modal shapes under my hat, so by thinking modes, I can anticipate the next chord in my progression and improvise around that chord using the chord shape and the appropriate modal pattern of that chord's tonality. Okay, new day, same crazy shirt. I want to show you the chords we're primarily going to be working with. It's going to be an A minor 7 with the 6-string root. You can see the corresponding A Aeolian fingering pattern on the screen. If I move up the fretboard, following the roots of the modes, I've got the A Aeolian, B Locrian, C Ionian, and D Dorian. So I've got my D minor 7 chord, and you can see the now different fingering pattern for the D Dorian. The next mode is the E Phrygian, and this is our E minor 7 chord. And again, you can see the E Phrygian fingering pattern, and it's different yet again. So I want to try to better explain how knowing the modal patterns for each of these chords is actually helping me. And it made me think about what is happening when you're trying to improvise, and specifically when we're trying to use a full A minor scale over this A minor blues progression. So I have to be able to anticipate the chord changes so that I know where I'm going. And then once I get there to the new chord, I have to know what's available to me immediately. I have to be able to find these 2 extra notes that go beyond the minor pentatonic. In our case, that's the major 2nd B and the flat 6 F. And they sort of change position within my shapes every time I move to a new shape. Once I get to a new chord, I want to be able to see intervals and potentially target notes so that my playing can fit the changes. And beyond all that, I probably want to keep the framework of the A minor pentatonic in mind so that I can kind of shift in and out of it. So when you think about all that, it's a wonder that anybody can improvise. And I don't know about you, but I don't have enough RAM in my system to do all those things at once. So by knowing these modal patterns, it's like I've programmed them into my operating system. I don't have to think about it consciously. So I've got these 2 extra notes included without having to think about it. Because I'm thinking modally, I'm also thinking in terms of the chord change and the chord shape. So that's kind of grounding me on where I am on the fretboard. And since I'm already working out of a chord, I'm used to seeing intervals and target notes around my chord shapes, my triads, my arpeggios. Knowing where I am in an A minor pentatonic is something that I've worked on forever, so that's kind of covered. So now I've freed up tons of this RAM, and with what little RAM I have to operate with, I can more easily concentrate on the target notes, and if I got a little left over, maybe I can even think about some dynamics, rhythm, and feel. Okay, let's see how these modal patterns sound over the minor blues backing track. Chord changes you can follow at the top of the video. A Aeolian. Little A minor pentatonic. D Dorian. A minor pentatonic. Phrygian, D Dorian, back to A Aeolian. Okay, one little wrinkle. You may reasonably say, when I'm soloing, I don't want to have to jump from this A position all the way up to this D position and this E position and all the way back. Wouldn't it be more efficient to sometimes utilize this D minor 7 and this E minor 7? So remember how I said that the A minor scale or A Aeolian pattern really is the C major scale, just starting on an A note. So it turns out that the D Dorian pattern is really the A Aeolian pattern, just starting on a D note. If you look at the D minor chord, we're in the Aeolian position, but if I start on the D note and I play the notes of the A Aeolian pattern, this is what I get. And that sounds a lot like the D Dorian in the D Dorian position. Now if I want to play over the E minor 7 chord, there is a second wrinkle, and I apologize for this. We're actually in a new modal pattern. We've moved from the A Aeolian position into the B Locrian, C Ionian position. They overlap. So basically we can play out of the C Ionian, which is the C major scale. So when I'm trying to do my E minor 7 chord, starting on the E note, I'm going to play the notes of the C major scale, starting here. Sorry. Which sounds a lot like. Okay, so now if we're going to solo using these patterns, we're mostly going to use the higher strings. So let's sort of see what we've got. In the Aeolian position, we've got this pattern. With a minor third target note. In the D Dorian position, we've got with a minor third target note, that's the F. Within the E Phrygian position, we've got with a minor third target note. If we want to do the A Aeolian, but in the E Phrygian position, we're still using those E Phrygian notes. With a minor third target. If I want to do the D Dorian in the A Aeolian position, I'm using the A Aeolian notes. With a minor third target note. If I want to do the E Phrygian in the B Locrian C major position, it's going to go with my minor third target note. So that gives us a lot to work with. So I'm going to try to just noodle using these kind of patterns. This is a difficult topic to convey, but this is a tool that I hope to get under my fingers more and more. So to conclude, modes have many other uses than what I've highlighted here. You can use a modal sound over a modal progression, like a Dorian sound over a Dorian progression. These are usually 2 or 3 chord progressions that are diatonic to a major or minor key, but they emphasize a chord other than the tonic as a tonal center, and often the one isn't even in the progression. You could even revise what I've shown for use over a major 1-4-5 using the Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian modes. Modes can be useful in a single chord vamp. You could use one or all of our minor modes over a minor 7 chord vamp. You can even create modes from other scales. You can get 7 more modes, each from the harmonic minor and the melodic minor scales. And you would create exotic new scales like the Phrygian dominant or the Superlocrian, otherwise known as the altered scale. So I know what I've discussed seems complicated, but we've already touched on 5 of the 7 major modal positions. And really they're just the caged positions of the major scale, which you already may know. The variations are limited, and they will always apply, as they did in our minor 1-4-5. Finally, I'm not saying that this is the way you should improvise. You may much prefer pentatonics with triads, arpeggios, using your ear, muscle memory. Whatever works is great, but maybe you can take an idea from this for composing or improvising the occasional phrase. It's just another tool to navigate the fretboard and to try to find the sound you're looking for. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching, and I hope you found something useful.